Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. And if you're just joining in, you're welcome. This is Good Morning, Uganda. If you started the show with us, thank you so much for choosing to start the day with us and choosing us to start the day with you. It is UBC TV, and we come to you live from the Nile Avenue. And this morning on The Real, let's look at sickle cell. Now, tomorrow, the 19th of June, designated by the United Nations, is a day to observe World Sickle Cell Awareness Day. But beyond awareness, let us examine what exactly civil society organizations are actually contributing to where the gaps remain and what solutions are needed. Be part of the conversation. 0709 602-592 by text, WhatsApp, and the conversation topic will definitely be uploaded onto our X handle at UBC TV, where you will be able to contribute with the hashtag UBCGMU. Having this conversation with Daniel Roy Odur, who is the Executive Director at Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative. You are welcome, and indeed, let's dig in. A very good morning to you, Roy.
Good evening. Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Must have had a long evening, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Was it World Cup?
Not really. You know, tomorrow happens to be the World Sickle Cell Day, and there were lots of things which are being done, preps and maybe some write-ups here. So probably that's why the evening comes in. But a very good morning to you, our viewers.
I totally understand that. But digging straight into it, and now that we're having a conversation in line with civil society organizations, many a times we've seen their activity on many causes regarding the community. And as for sickle cell, perhaps I will speak for myself, but I believe I represent many others, that it's been quite the rare conversation from that front. Yes. So what is the current contribution from your expertise and experience? What's the current contribution of civil society organizations in the fight against sickle cell in Uganda?
Thank you very much, Julie, and thank you to the management of UBC TV, our national network, which we are quite proud of. And UBC has been a very strong, or is still a very strong ally in creating awareness in respect of sickle cell disease in this country and probably outside the country as well. Sickle cell happens to be an inherited blood disorder which affects a child that is born to both parents who are carriers of sickle cell. Like if the father and mother has that trait, then eventually we shall see some percentage of children being carriers, then some being probably normal, and then others being sickle cell warriors. We don't call them sicklers because we find it quite stigmatizing for them. So we call them warriors due to the different episodes of pain that they do endure. So in terms of CSO participation in combating sickle cell, CSO does a complementary work or supplementary work on what the government does, and to that effect, that's the Ministry of Health that we closely work with. It's not only Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative. There are quite a number of CSOs outside there that does a lot of advocacy. As of today, just to come up with some statistics across the region, then probably who is doing what where. In Uganda, it's believed that we give birth to close to 25,000 to 30,000 babies with sickle cell across the country. And formerly, it was very sad to note that close to 80% of these babies do not live past their 5th birthday. But with lots of changes of advocacy, disease modifying agents like hydroxyurea, there are lots of changes which are really coming up. Now we are seeing that babies who used to die off at a certain age are now living quite a prolonged life, and that means that their quality of life is being enhanced across the country. It's also evident to note that close to about 13.3% of Ugandans carry the sickle cell trait or the genes, and that is still alarming to us as CSO and probably the government as well that we closely work with. As CSOs, we have been very strong mainly in raising awareness. In the northern part of the country where I do come from, that's in Lango sub-region, Acholi, the West Nile, and maybe northeast, the prevalence seems to be quite high yet at about, because if you went to Lango, and that's a Leptong district, it gives you a percentage of close to 23.8% of the prevalence. Then you head to the eastern part of the country that sits at close to about 17%. Then you come to central, which lies at about 10%. Then the western part of the country, which lies at close to about 4.1%. Now there are different contributing factors as to why this prevalence is like this. Close to way back in about 1912 and stuff like that, when I think malaria was being combated, there was a genetical mutation that resulted into what we are now discussing as sickle cell. And along the belts where malaria is very prevalent also, you will tend to find that there is a higher prevalence of sickle cell in these places. A Leptong district has lots of water bodies as well. But we are relying on statistics which was basically done in close to about 2014-16, and I believe right now if we are to do a national survey, things could have changed by now. If we are talking of Lango sub-region, who knows, maybe it's Busoga now. It's in Busoga, Jinja, that we are going to have the commemoration of the World Sickle Cell Day. That is tomorrow in Jinja. Things would have changed, but as CSOs, we have tried as much as possible to galvanize our efforts towards raising awareness in these regions. Right. In Lango sub-region, we have Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative, whereby we have been trying to involve lots of stakeholders, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, the businessmen, in bringing them together to discuss issues which are related to sickle cell. You will believe me that those days we used to have families whereby you would hear that, please, Daniel, don't go and marry from family X. Those children or that family, once their babies or reach a certain age, they die. We have visited a family whereby the lady gave birth to 6 children, and these children would die at a particular age, and she was excommunicated from her marital home, while they were claiming that she had brought some bad omen to the family. So she was excommunicated, and she went and got married somewhere, and so was the man. Eventually, when we got hold of this information, we got to test them, and they were all carriers. So it took our intervention of trying to involve people in that community and that particular clan to sensitize them that sickle cell is not about witchcraft, you know. And it's absurd to visit a family and find that a child is being tied indoors because of that belief that it is sickle cell, that something seems to be taking off the blood from our child, right? You know, and yet medically this has not been proven, you know. So we have also been trying as much as possible as CSOs to demystify certain myths which are associated to sickle cell. Like I've just mentioned right now that sickle cell is not associated to witchcraft. We went somewhere and they were saying that, okay, you need to kill a wild cat, so that you take blood from a wild cat and it cures sickle cell. That is not the case. So then we have also been doing lots of advocacy and then trying to influence policy. 2024, we were in position to write and interact with the Committee on Health at the Parliament of Uganda. Initially, there was no any dedicated budget for sickle cell, and 1 billion shilling was earmarked. This money doesn't come to the CSOs. It goes to the national medical stores. And this was in respect for buying sickle cell related commodities, hydroxyurea, the testing kits, some reagents, and lots of other customized commodities for sickle cell. And I'm glad that this particular year, in this financial year, Parliament had some discussion, and which is still, we believe that it will be very fruitful, that finally the country is waking up. Finally, we are getting able leadership because of the existence of CSOs in this country and other key players. Even the Ministry of Health, they have come a long way in ensuring that, one, yes, the community gets to know about sickle cell. The commemoration of the World Sickle Cell Day is very significant, and that has been taken up by the Ministry of Health in conjunction with a number of key players, JCRC, Baylor, plus lots of other partners. Raising Hope, the Sickle Cell Rescue Foundation, and quite a number of other partners that have come up. On the other side, we have also tried to have customized messages go out to the different people in the different regions in the local dialect. For example, we have some drama club that moves from every school trying to dramatize, okay? And the other aspect of it, which I really find it very significant and which we actually play a very complementary role, is that testing. We have been advocating that, can we have enough people get to know their sickle cell status before marriage or before getting sexually active?
That's true.
We have been into schools. We have been testing in the different churches across the country, across Lango, across Uganda, across Busoga, Teso, West Nile, you know, Ankole. So there are lots of key players in these areas which are complementing what the government is doing. And the best way to avoid sickle cell is knowing your sickle cell status before getting sexually active.
Right. 0709602592 is how you can engage in the conversation. And for you to just share, what is your level of understanding sickle cell disease? And what steps have you taken to prevent its transmission? As a Ugandan, what is your level of understanding of sickle cell disease, and what steps have you taken to prevent its transmission? What have you done? Do share. It will be lovely to know as we all learn and unlearn from each other. This morning, do send your contribution to 0709602592 and onto our X-handle at UBCTV Uganda. The hashtag is UBCGMU. Having this conversation with Daniel Roy Odur, Executive Director at Catherine Phil Sickle Cell Support Initiative, as we look at the contribution of civil society organizations in the fight against sickle cell. Roy, kindly allow me engage a few comments that have come through from our viewer. Yes. Good morning, Uganda. I think sickle cell testing should be made compulsory for all children below 5 years in this country, so that the status of growing generations is known before the age of marriage. Even the couples intending to marry should test as one of the requirements. This is Edson in Entebbe. And speaking of this, Roy, when it comes, you talked about churches, and I do know churches that require that test, but you find that on a bigger whole, churches only focus on HIV. And not make it mandatory for a sickle cell test. Yet it's very pertinent that whether you want it or not, before we allow to wed you under our custody, you must present that sickle cell test on top of the HIV test.
I think this is quite an interesting area still, because we have seen, okay, not all hope is lost. There are churches which are that has taken up that responsibility, that not only will you present your HIV test results before the church, but we are interested in your sickle cell status. Because if you have a child who is a sickle cell warrior, that means that you will hardly save money home, It's actually some sort of like poverty in a home. You'll not save money home. Almost every week you're running to the hospital. You need to buy medicine. Infections are there. So you need money. You need proper feeding. And when we talk of proper feeding, it doesn't mean that you have to eat meat or blah, blah, blah. There are good customized food for a sickle cell warrior. The child needs to hydrate very well, keep warm, less stress. We noted that also with concern that towards the national exams or even any exam, we tend to have lots of children with crisis or with different crises because there is too much of pressure. Anxiety is also there, and that brings in lots of thoughts to them as well. Yes. Right.
Yeah. Very, a lot to learn, and you know, a lot to pick from.
Talking about that testing which you talked of, mandatory testing, it is still work in progress. We would want to wake up one day and that we have actually passed a law in our parliament that before you get married, it is a must for you. It is mandatory. Just like right now, by the way, through the Ministry of Health and other different partners, there is now what we are terming as newborn screening, mandatory newborn screening. Right. Any child born in any facility, be it at Lira Regional Referral Hospital, Mubende, Kabale, Mukono, where, Mbale, the child has to be screened for sickle cell traits or possibility of having a gene. So that is a plus for the government. Right. And this is being done in conjunction with very many partners, CONSA, the Consortium on Newborn Screening in Africa, and other partners. Baylor is there doing that. So it's like a conveyor belt. Right. Everybody is up and we are saying that, please, can we have our children tested so that if somebody is diagnosed earlier with sickle cell, that means that there is also proper care and management. Early diagnosis leads to proper care and management of a child with sickle cell disease.
Right. Good morning, Uganda. This is Odaro Vincent from Tororo. Thank you for the show. May I know, number one, what causes sickle cell? Number two, how is it transmitted? Number three, can it be treated? Please speak into this.
Good. Like at the opening part of it, I said that sickle cell is a genetical disorder, a blood genetical disorder, which is inherited when, for example, the mother and the father are carriers of the gene. That means that you'll give birth to a child with sickle cell. I don't want to go into the scientific term of it and blah, 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 the hemoglobin and stuff like that. And then transmission. Like I've said, it is transmitted, for example, if at the time of when you're going to get married, or that's why we are saying that before you get sexually active, know your status. If you come together, you, the father and the mother, you're both carriers, chances are very high that you'll give birth to a child with sickle cell. Maybe others will be normal. Treatment. There are lots of different methods which are coming up due to the advancement in technology. But what we have currently in Uganda, it's what we are. It's hydroxyurea, folic acid, and maybe some prophylaxis like Fancida to prevent malaria. But hydroxyurea is a disease-modifying agent. Now, if a child is on hydroxyurea, that means that one, you will reduce on the frequency of blood transfusion. The vaso-occlusive pain will reduce, or the crises will reduce. Then the other thing is that the frequency of the child getting infection will also reduce. And this drug used to be quite expensive, but I can tell you that Uganda is now producing its own hydroxyurea in the country.
Wow. I know you also had something.
Yes. So yes. Uganda is producing its own
hydroxyurea.
Fighting
alongside a sickle cell warrior with QCIL manufacturers of what's the word?
Sicurea. And this is being done by Quality Chemicals. So we now have this being produced in
Uganda.
And this has been our cry, that can we have something being produced in Uganda? And once this is now happening, this means that, one, we now have access and affordability. And our patients or our warriors will even now live longer.
Right.
Because initially, this drug used to cost like between 800 to 2,500. And somebody deep down in where? In Nakapiripirit or in Alebtong or in my village somewhere could not be in position to afford. And sometimes a child takes like 1,000 milligrams, and somebody to afford like 1,600 or 5,000 on a daily in the village, that is quite a lot for the person. So this is like something is happening. And also to increase on diagnosis, we have been praying that something happens. Now, Microhim Scientific in Uganda has produced the first ever locally made testing kit for sickle cell in Uganda, an RDT. So this is readily available in the country. Nicosam Healthcare has also the Gazelle HB electrophoresis machine for confirmatory tests. So there are lots of things which are coming up, which we have been trying to push. Makerere University and the College of Health Sciences, they are developing some AI-related technology, if I'm to call it, that will help us in diagnosis, real-time diagnosis. Right. So there are lots of things which are coming up in the space.
And I love the picture you've painted as to how CSOs have really done the work where, they've been the feet and the hands where government wouldn't reach. And when we talk about testing, I think one of the things that have stood out for me is testing for sickle cell is rather expensive compared to that of an HIV test. Do you think this is one of the things that bars many Ugandans, especially, for example, mandatory requirements? One would think of carrying or injecting a lot of money, which sometimes maybe they haven't even prepared for because they were not aware that they were supposed to have that mandatory test. How best do you think CSOs can help with reducing or managing the cost of sickle cell testing?
Yes, you see, you have to first run and cause awareness. That look here, sickle cell is like this A, B, C, D. Then, when you have raised awareness, many people will flock to get to know their sickle cell status, and you need the testing kits readily available. Because you're not going to tell people, okay, please know your sickle cell status. Sickle cell is not caused by witchcraft, and yet you don't have enough testing kits in the country. But believe me right now, if you moved to a number of health facilities, public and private, the testing kits are readily available in these facilities, and we believe that by a certain time, 2030, 2040, the prevalence of sickle cell would have reduced. But before we went to that, there was still issue of treatment. There is hydroxyurea. Now, the bone marrow transplant, JCRC, the Joint Clinical Research Center, led by the able leadership of Dr. Sisi Chitio and Dr. Sally Francis and the entire team at JCRC, there is a drive to establish our first bone marrow transplant center in the country. And this will be a game changer, because lots of our people do travel out to go and do a bone marrow transplant in India, which the price is quite expensive. 120 million to close to 500 million. And worst of it all, there are lots of things which happen there, which we equally don't know. So if we have this in our country, that will save our people from the cost of transport. Yes, there will be some money, but still that would mean that it will be at more or less a reduced cost. Then there is gene therapy as well. Now, gene therapy, in a layman's language, I would probably say that it is editing your genes, and there's lots of science there which happens. And then probably they get it back to your body, and then all will be fine for you. That is the simplest term which I can leave the science off and try to bring it closer. But that is not yet in the country, and that is close to 11 billion shillings, which billion, which is not yet billion, which is not yet in the country. But I want to give ourselves hope that even those days, let me touch something on HIV. Recently, the ministry launched
Lenacapavir.
Yes, Lenacapavir or Capavir. Those days in Germany, it used to cost like close to about 72 million shillings just for a shot. But like 20 years down the road, we are having it here free. So who knows? Some of these technological advancement in trying to manage sickle cell will also reach here.
Indeed.
So not all hope is lost.
Surely, indeed. Now our time is fast spent and the questions are flowing in as an avalanche. Unfortunately, time is such an enemy. But Roy, if anyone wants to get in touch with the Catherine Phil Sickle Cell Support Initiative to be able to manage their situation or even be part of the awareness, how best do they reach out?
We are located in Kulambiro at Nikosam House at the Ring Road, and our cell phone number is 0392 150047. 0392 150047, Kulambiro, Ring Road at the Nikosam House. Yes, and you can also get to follow us on all our social media handles, Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative. For those who are lovers of WhatsApp, 0776 12 0095.
Right.
Tomorrow is the World Sickle Cell Day. If you're in Ginger, please get time, go there, get screened for sickle cell disease. If you have any warrior or any sickle cell warrior with you at home, this is the time that we appeal to you. I appeal to you that please show them love, get closer to them. And not forgetting our founders of Sickle Cell Fight and the late Dr. Ndugwa, who has been very instrumental. He established, I think, the first sickle cell clinic in the country. Our ABO team at Mulago, Dr. Deo, Kasirie, lots of people, the Ministry of Health, the National Sickle Cell Coordinator, Ajambo, please. Things are getting better. It might not happen today, tomorrow, but we are hopeful that something good will happen in the country.
Right. Thank you very much. Daniel Roy Odur, he is the Executive Director at Catherine Phil Sickle Cell Support Initiative, been speaking to us about the contribution of civil society organizations in the fight against sickle cell. And surely, indeed, from what he has elaborated, you can tell that civil society organizations and the hands and the feet that gets to the grassroots points where even government is not able to reach to fight and make sure that this situation isn't in Uganda. The conversation does continue on our X-handle at UBCTV Uganda, hashtag UBCGMU. What is your level of understanding of sickle cell disease and what steps have you taken to prevent its transmission? Together we fight and win. Up next is JMU Tourism Express, and business will be coming through with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono in just a bit.
Listen up. Colgate is on a mission.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
Colgate Charcoal Gentle Clean cleans and polishes teeth for a whiter smile and a naturally fresh and clean mouth. Choose natural. Choose Colgate Charcoal.
I know what Uganda needs. When General Caleb Akantwanaho retired, Salim Saleh presented his long, detailed analysis of Uganda's economy and structured recommendations for improvement in the form of the Third National Development Plan, NDP-3, to President Museveni. He laid out the kinds of problems that many Ugandans feel every day, but rarely see captured in one place. He was doing what he has done for years, breaking down the problems holding back ordinary Ugandans. He talked about distortions in factors of production, such as land conflicts that choke investment, the high cost of finance for ordinary people, the shortage of skills among youth, the slow pace of value addition, and the gap between production in the villages and the factories in industrial parks. It was the kind of diagnosis a technocrat offers when trying to get a country unstuck. The president's reply was striking in its simplicity. I know what Uganda needs. At first, to others, it might have sounded almost dismissive. But when placed in the context of 40 years of state rebuilding, economic reform, and political stability, it revealed something deeper. A belief that Uganda's path to transformation has been consistent, deliberate, and informed by lived experience rather than theory. It's not based on guesswork. It's based on the journey already traveled. He always stresses that any serious revolutionary discussion about the economy of Uganda, or indeed much of Africa, should include the following questions. 1. What was the economy of Uganda like in 1900, at the dawn of colonialism? 2. What was the economy of Uganda like in 1962, at the sunset of colonialism? 3. How and what was the magnitude of the collapse of the Ugandan economy between 1971 and 1986? Idi Amin, Obote II, Okello. 4. What, therefore, was the economy of Uganda like in 1986? 5. What is the Ugandan economy like today, and why?
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
I welcome you to the Kabaka's Lake. My name is Elvis Sechibule, a guide working under Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board. The place where we are currently, we are at the largest man-made lake we have in the east and the central of Africa. Now, this lake has a very unique significance to the kingdom of Buganda and the country Uganda at large. In Buganda, whenever the kings came on the throne, the king had the main role of establishing for himself a palace. And this palace could be the capital for that very king or during his reign. The kings never liked their palaces to be far away from water bodies, especially Lake Victoria. And these water bodies would enhance trade. In case of any attack, the king would use this water body as an escape route. So Kabaka Mwanga established his palace at Mengo Hill in 1885, just up there. It's a very short distance from the lake here to the king's palace, Mwanga. That's why he established his palace. Then the official digging of this lake began in 1886. Kabaka Mwanga gave this work to a rich gentleman known as Musoke. Musoke spearheaded the digging, the initial digging of this lake. This lake was dug manually using hands. They could use tools, the local tools like hoes, spades, baskets, which could help them to cut out mud and dump it up there. Actually, most of the county chiefs in the kingdom, they were in charge of overseeing and looking after this work which was being done here. People could wake up early morning at exactly 6 a.m. and they could leave work at exactly 6 p.m. late in the evening. county chiefs, they could come here and inspect the roles, and Musoke was the chief who could instruct the digging. Later, Musoke failed, and the work was taken to Kagwandi Mukulaga. That was his name. Kagwandi Mukulaga did the second stage of the digging of this lake, and later Wakome Chiengera finalized this work. The intention of this lake was to reach Lake Victoria along the river which crosses to Chibuye, then Nalukolongo. The king had a palace in Munyonyo, that side. In his Munyonyo palace, that's why he could carry the goods from Munyonyo to the palace, or from the palace of Mengo, then to Munyonyo. So this lake is sitting in between two hills. We have the hill of Mengo and the hill of Rubaga. And actually it has two roads which cross it. We have Nabunya Road and then Mengo Ring Road. Before this lake was established, this was a swamp which was commonly known as Nsike. Nsike was the swamp where the Baganda people could do their athletics, especially wrestling and entertainment of the king. During the reign of Kabaka Daudi Chwa, on the island which is in the middle of the lake, which you can see, it has a name. It is called Nambi, Nantutuluru. That's why you could sit and entertain him with boat racing and again arm wrestling in the mud here. This lake has a lot of importances today. It's a tourist attraction in the middle of Kampala, and it houses a number of bird species. We have great cormorants, we have the Hadada ibis here, we have the open-billed stork, we have the cattle egrets, and many, many others. So visitors who are passionate about birding, Kabaka's Lake in Kampala is also a priority. More on this, to be more specific, this lake houses a number of fish species. In the future plans of the kingdom, for those who will be passionate about sport fishing, this will be a very, very good place. It has generated a number of employment opportunities, the people living around it. The youths who wash vehicles around here. It has enhanced also building activities. The hotel where we are currently, Popo, St. Lawrence University, and other infrastructure around, whereby they drain water from this very, very lake. It is called the Kabaka's Lake. Kabaka literally means the king. That's the title given to the king of Buganda, in Nyanja ya Kabaka. Today there is a plan of developing of this area, and the chairperson of this project was Freeman Chiimba. That was the role given to him. The last mapping showed that this lake is sitting on 57 acres of land, and the current depth is 5 feet deep in the ground. It's considered to be the largest man-made lake we have in the eastern center of Africa, and we expect that the developments which will be done on it will generate more employment opportunities, and it will be crucial to the people who are living around it. I thank you very much. My name is Elvis Sechibule, guide with the Buganda Heritage and Tourism Board.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Welcome back from tourism. Now let's take a look at business. Uganda Revenue Authority, URA, has revealed that it has so far collected 85% of the revenue target for the current financial year. The tax body is appealing to taxpayers with outstanding obligations to voluntarily comply with the remaining 13 days before June 30th deadline to avoid penalties and enforcement measures. Let's enjoy this.
Today. The Commissioner for Domestic Taxes, Dennis Kugonza Kateba, in an interview with UBC said Uganda Revenue Authority continues to encourage voluntary compliance as the deadline for filing annual tax returns draws closer.
According to our projections, we shall collect this money and achieve the target that was set. But what is important is for everyone who has an obligation to pay, to ensure that you pay. We encourage voluntary compliance and you pay voluntarily to develop our country. Those who have not yet paid taxes or who are in the process, please use this period to file the accurate returns and make a payment to not affect your business. Then review all your accounts, review all the taxes due in your business, and ensure that you file and pay all the taxes.
Commissioner Kugonza notes that maintaining proper books of accounts is critical for accurate tax assessment and payment. He urged businesses to file their income tax returns and desist from under-declaring their earnings.
Main obligations is to prepare your books accurately, so that when you are asked to review them, they know they are prepared well, they are accurate and complete. They should avoid under declaration. So Ugandans, we have to pay our taxes, fair share of taxes from the level of businesses we are operating. Those are not registered, please register and pay taxes. Those are registered, please make sure you compile the right books of accounts, you record them accurately and pay the right tax.
He further called upon taxpayers who are liable for withholding tax, pay as you earn, and business income tax, among other obligations, to utilize the remaining days to fulfill their tax responsibilities. He stressed that taxation remains the backbone of national development and urged Ugandans to embrace tax compliance for the common good.
Imagine a situation where there is no electricity because there is no money to fund it. Imagine a situation where teachers are not paid and doctors are not paid in hospitals. So it affects everyone's livelihood and development of the country. But for critical services, the government has to borrow so that they can be able to continue giving services. But this borrowing comes with very high interest, which has to be repaid by our taxes. So it means going forward, our services will reduce because some of this money has to pay loan, pay back the loan with the high interest. And this one affects government to keep giving all the services it's supposed to give to Ugandans and keep developing at the rate it's supposed to be developing.
Crispus Arinitwe reporting for UBC.
Thank you, Crispus. Now the Eastern African Grain Council and Danish Industries East Africa have launched a grain sector peer-to-peer learning mission, an initiative focused on improving cross-border trade, quality enhancement, market linkages, and operational best practices. The launch was foreseen by Cyprus Ndorele, Commissioner, External Trade, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives.
And I want to commend the East African Grain Council working with the Danish industries and the other stakeholders for putting this together. So I really encourage producers, farmers and everyone to add value. I've been hearing complaints from many people who buy across the country about quality. You buy a maize of bag of 100 kilograms, half the maize is full of cobs, maize cobs. That is very, very unfortunate, and it kills the honest. Business is about honesty.
The grain sector is not just an agricultural subsector. It is the lifeblood of our region. It supports millions of livelihoods, from the smallholder to the processors and traders. However, we also know the challenges that stand in the way of unlocking the sector's full potential. Challenges around market access, post-harvest losses, and quality management.
We hear a lot about Uganda being a country that produces very high quality grains, and we hope to tap into that. One challenge is policies are a bit different, especially in terms of standards. Like in Kenya, you find that our Bureau of Standards is very strict on aflatoxin levels of maize. In Uganda, I think there's a bit of not sure what the policy is with regards to aflatoxin levels within Uganda. But we hear Uganda being part of EAGC, they're looking towards harmonizing a common standard.
Moving on, weak linkages across the manufacturing value chain and expanding into regional markets have been outlined as the barriers that constrain growth in the manufacturing sector. At Stanbic Business Forum held in Kampala, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives and stakeholders in the private sector urged manufacturers to focus on value addition of produce and standards to access global markets.
Uganda's manufacturing sector plays a vital role in driving economic growth, creating jobs and strengthening regional trade. However, despite this potential, manufacturers across the country, from farmers and processors to distributors, continue to face structural challenges that constrain growth. At the Stanbic Business Forum held, manufacturers were given insight into the financial solutions tailored to manufacturing at various stages and reduce dependence on imports.
And therefore, it's very important that we solve across the value chain so that the multiplier effect is greater. That's one. The other thing also is that even from a risk mitigation perspective, when you're solving through the value chain, it ensures that you are in control of the risk across board, and that creates the element of sustainability and long-term impact.
On the limited access to global markets, manufacturers were urged to focus on value addition of produce and standards for quick access to global markets.
How do we position ourselves? How do we get prepared? Are we able to look at the quality issues in terms of standards? Can we comply when our coffee is leaving, for example, let's say Mitiana or maybe Kanungu or maybe Ambale? Is it able to meet the requirements into the Italian market? And that's why you see products like coffee now is one of our biggest export earners as an economy. So because they are meeting those requirements. So
Stanbic Bank Uganda has placed initiatives including the One Farm solution that gives assistance to local manufacturers, access global markets and reduce trade risks,
which essentially is a marketplace that allows all the players across the value chain, the agri value chain, to be able to, order and make payments for goods and services to ensure that that continuity exists. So there's a number of initiatives, and I think in the following conversations, there's opportunity to partner and think and co-create some of these initiatives.
Lydia Chomkama and Stephen Kalisa, UBC News.
Thank you, Lydia and Stephen. Now, moving on, tankers stranded near the Persian Gulf are waiting for clear signs that the latest USA-Iran agreement will hold before resuming normal operations. Analysts say it could take weeks before ship owners and insurers regain confidence in the deal. While details remain scanty, there is growing optimism that oil exports through the Strait of Hormuz could return to normal levels by the end of July. But will this translate into pump prices of fuel in Uganda?
After months of costly disruptions, the U.S. President Donald Trump has declared that the Strait of Hormuz will be fully reopened by the end of this week, following a breakthrough agreement between Washington and Tehran aimed at ending hostilities in the Middle East. For Uganda, a country that imports all its petroleum products, the lingering question is whether the agreement will provide immediate relief from the soaring fuel prices.
We continue to monitor, of course, the progress of this conflict, which we expect that as we enter June, hopefully it will subside. And once that happens, we enter what we call the recovery months of this conflict, probably 3 to 4 months of recovery for us to get back to normal operations to the extent that is possible.
During her most recent media briefing, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Engineer Irene Batebe, warned that consumers should expect a marginal increase in palm prices in the short term.
As we start lifting products that we ordered after the conflict, we are starting to bring in product priced based on the international prices following the commencement of the conflict. As we enter the month of May, going into June, we are starting to see an appreciation in the price, and I believe you've already seen this.
Since tensions escalated in the Middle East earlier this year, pump prices in Uganda have risen by nearly 1,200 shillings per litre, increasing transport and business costs across the economy. On the international market, oil prices steadied on Tuesday after recording their sharpest one-day decline in more than 2 weeks. Dennis Igoa for UBC.
Well, thank you, Dennis Sigoa. DFCU Bank is aggressively positioning itself as the primary financial partner of choice for Uganda's international schools, launching a specialized strategy to address the sector's unique capital requirements and operational hurdles. At a high-level steering committee meeting themed Partnering for Sustainable Growth and Innovation, bank executives and school proprietors tackled critical issues ranging from milking of the education sector through heavy taxation to urgent necessity of digital transformation in curriculum delivery. Let's take a look at our final story.
Let this one go on record that DFC is setting a pace for what government has long failed to do. You cannot create partnerships without coming to the people into dialogue. And I want here to commend the Ministry of Education that has allowed a National Steering Committee to be set up where both Ministry of Education and various partners in the private sub-sector of education, Church of Uganda, Roman Catholic, UMEA, Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, Orthodox Church, pure individual proprietors like me and corporate proprietors, as well as international schools. Mr. Sam Tuya here from International Schools, the one representing International Schools Association or the National Steering Committee. And already we have agreed with the Ministry of Education that it's no longer an issue of pulling rocks. We should get fully involved in a dialogue to formulate policies, to discuss regulations and certain things.
We look at this as a relationship. It's a wholesome relationship. We don't come in to say we shall support the school, but this school will only thrive if the parents are paying the fees on time. So this is why we go backwards to say, how are the parents managing?
And with that, we come to the end of our business stories this morning. Now, up next is a very interesting character. He's the Community Liaisons Officer, Uganda Police, Anatoli Muletera. I'm very sure you will enjoy as we look at if he has failed or achieved when it comes to issues of increasing mob justice and, of course, promoting the relationship between Ugandans and you. But you can't afford to miss this man. He's very interesting. Julie will be handling him in the agenda. Good morning for now. See you in the next hour.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years. Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Join Uganda's leading policymakers, economists, private sector players and development partners for the Post-Budget Dialogue 2026, broadcast live on UBC TV this Friday, 19th June 2026 at Hotel Africana. Be part of the conversation as experts unpack the national budget and its implications for Uganda's future. Don't miss it. Friday, 19th June 2026, live on UBC TV. Across communities once silenced by fear and tradition, voices are rising to end female genital mutilation. Men are redefining manhood, not through strong muscles, but through understanding, protection, and responsibility. Survivors are rebuilding their lives, transforming pain into purpose and economic independence. Their stories did not end with FGM. They chose a new future. Faith leaders are reshaping moral voices within communities, standing against harm and defending the dignity of girls.
I tell you, the people of Sabay sub-region, to end FGM, to end FGM, to end FGM.
Young survivors are breaking the silence, speaking not only for themselves, but for those who never lived to tell their stories.
I am now a champion of FGM, and I am serving as an example in a community.
From grassroots,
they come and they shelter them for a while, and in the